スーパーレディオブラザーズ
It's time for the Super Radio Brothers. I think the one just had an accident.
Yes, the Super Radio Brothers are back broadcasting from strategic locations all across the empire. It is the Super Radio Brothers. And of course, with me as always, the man, the myth, the legend, it is Trent Ferguson. What's up, Trent?
Hey, man. How are you tonight on this Thursday? It is March 31st. We have reached the first quarter of 2022 is already over. I guess when you're watching Marvel movies and when you're, watching Batman and when you're watching all these kind of things, I guess time flies when you're having fun, huh?
Oh, yeah, lots of fun and so many things to talk about this week, of course. Speaking of Marvel movies, Trent, thank you so much. Moon Knight on Disney Plus premiered Wednesday night. I did get a chance to see it. So I'll have an opinion on that. Also this weekend, Morbius, the Sony Marvel movie based on the Spider-Man villain Morbius. We'll talk about that a little bit. I do have plans to see it this weekend. And perhaps there will be a video on Super Radio Brother Highlights on YouTube coming out with my review on that. So, yeah, Trent, very exciting times if you're a fan of Marvel movies and you enjoy all of this superhero nerd culture stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. It makes me want to be a superhero.
You are a superhero, Trent. In my heart, you are.
That's kind, but like extremely awkward at the same time.
Oh, so. But okay. So you're more like, a lesser, weaker superhero that gets beat up a lot.
Oh, well, that's cool. I'll take that.
Does that make it less awkward?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, you're not Spider-Man. You're more like Kite Man.
Hey, I'll take it. I'll take anything at this point.
Trent, Kite Man was one of the most ridiculous Batman characters, where basically his whole deal was that his suit was like a kite, and he glided. Oh. And his name was Kite Man. So
hey, not all superheroes wear capes.
That's what I'm saying. So I guess my whole point is, Trent, you are my Kite Man. How about that?
All right. Yeah, it's good.
It is the Super Radio Brothers. Yeah, all of that coming up. We got the news, the Couch Report, and, of course, Sports Now. Big news for Trent's. If you didn't know, Trent's a big-time Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, and at this moment, they probably have the biggest news in sports as a Super Bowl winning coach steps down. Right, Trent?
Oh, yeah, I definitely got opinions on that. But let me just say, yes, even though the coach stepped down, Tom Brady will still be in Tampa Bay. He's not going to, announce his retirement again after announcing his retirement and then after 40 days saying coming back.
That would be hilarious, Trent. Can you imagine now Tom Brady retires again now that he knows?
Yeah, you would not be able to get a hold of me for quite some time if Tom Brady announced his retirement again. I don't think he would. Hey, that would make all the free agents mad because he got so many people just to stay. I mean, there were guys going to, other teams across the league, to Buffalo, to, several other places. Ryan Jensen ended up re-signing, and so did, a couple of guys like Logan Ryan came over from the New England Patriots. And then next thing you know, Tom Brady would have been, okay, I'm going to retire again. That would make all of the free agents mad, especially after the new league year started and basically free agency is over at this point.
I would, just being a Jet fan, I would find it hilarious. That would be the best news I heard in years if Tom Brady comes out and retires again. I think it would be great, but
I know, but it ain't gonna happen. So
all right, yeah, I know. It would have happened already because he already retired. Then he unretired in like a week. It's ridiculous already with this guy. But
I have my own theory on that. I think that was a stage thing. I think that was already planned.
Oh, all right. We'll get into all of that in sports coming up in a little bit. Check us out on all social media platforms. We got our videos, our Super Radio highlights up on YouTube, on Facebook. You can get the links on Twitter as well. A lot of videos out there. I tried something a little different this past week, Trent, with March Madness going on, and I know we'll get into the Final Four a little bit during sports with March Madness going on. I know you probably saw it over and over again. There were a ton of commercials for this Pizza Hut Spicy Lovers Pizza. And, you get beat over the head with the advertisements watching these Final Four games, these tournament games here, March Madness. And I decided, hey, why don't I go out there and try the Spicy Lovers Pizza and do a Super Radio highlight on it? And you checked out the video, didn't you?
Oh yeah, man. I listened to it. As soon as I heard your voice, I always cringe. No, I'm kidding. I don't do that. But yeah, I kid. Of course, it's a joke.
You were hoping it
but
was somebody else in the video, right? And it was like, oh, this
I
guy.
know. It's like, ooh, let me check this out. Spice. Maybe he posted the commercial or something.
Yeah,
let me take a look.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's somebody else. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe
anybody.
it's somebody else. It's like, oh, never
Yeah.
mind.
Oh, it's Rich
Yeah,
again.
like, yeah. But no, all seriousness, I did listen to it. Heard you actually take the bite of pizza, and it sounded like you
Was it that
you
loud?
enjoyed it.
Did you hear me actually crunching and chewing on the pizza?
No, but the silence, the
Oh.
along with the silence, I could tell that you were taking a
Okay.
bite.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it helped whenever you said, "Okay, here we go," and then all of a
Right.
sudden, I don't have to see it. I could just picture you. Okay, you picked up a slice of pizza, you're putting it to your mouth, you're eating it, and you're kind of thinking, you're kind of just really just sitting back and examining the taste, and you're like, "Oh, okay, well, this tastes
That's
pretty good."
So Trent, would you say like in a situation like that, you just feel the moment when you're watching
Oh
something
yeah,
like that? Yeah.
without question. Yeah, I've listened to like, for example, I used to watch Wheel of Fortune whenever I was a kid. I watched the game show. I'm still into game shows now, but other than that, it's kind of hit or miss for me. But I watched a Wheel of Fortune episode one time where Pat Sajak actually ate pizza while he was on Wheel of Fortune. I could just tell in the moment. I didn't have to see him eating it or anything like that. I could just tell how much he enjoyed it. He was like taste testing a pizza from, I can't think, he did the show in New York, I think, or something one day, and he happened to come across some really good New York style pizza, which I love it every time I can get it. It's so good.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started. I'm hungry now. But
let me
anyway,
let me
yeah.
take a quick jump away from the pizza because we like to jump around here on the show. I hope I don't insult you, Trent, by changing the subject here real quick. But you hit on something.
I really don't have a choice.
You hit on something there that we have to know about, Trent Ferguson. You mentioned game shows. I love game shows too, especially growing up. You mentioned Wheel of Fortune, which I was a big watcher of as well. What would you say was your favorite game show, or even your of all time? What's your favorite game show?
Oh, it's so good because I watched Let's Make a Deal, Deal or No Deal, Jeopardy. Although I will say Jeopardy is not the same without the late great Alex Trebek. I mean, Alex Trebek was a classic. He had done it for years. Now the lady on there, she's okay. The person on there that hosts it. I liked it when Ken Jennings hosted it for a while. Whenever Ken was the official all-time, the greatest of all time, the GOAT in terms of Jeopardy. I really enjoyed that. Now, in terms of game shows, right now, I'm really into binge watching the old Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, shows with Regis Philbin. And I like the UK version with Chris Tarrant. Chris Tarrant from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was great, in the UK. I'm partial to the UK because my Uncle Andy was from Wales over there in the United Kingdom. So he is very partial. And I actually got into their version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, thanks to the Charles Ingram scandal. Did you hear about that back in 2001, where Charles Ingram ended up cheating to try to win the $1 million by having another fastest finger? Oh, it's a documentary narrated by Martin Bashir. It's from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And Charles Ingram actually was caught on camera having one of the other fastest finger first contestants, the FFF is what they call them, cough after he read the multiple choice answers. So the host would read the multiple choice answers. If you're not familiar with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, it's a multiple choice style format, so it'll ask a question, so-and-so came out in what year? And it'll give you, kind of like a multiple choice test in school, A, B, C, or D. And, it'll give you that. And Charles Ingram started reading the answers just in his head, trying to do it out loud. And their scam was to cough after Ingram read the correct multiple choice answer out, and then he would, confirm a couple of times. He ultimately got caught. But, even though that was an episode that was not aired and it was in documentary format, that's what got me into the UK version of it, because I love, Chris Tarrant's personality. He's not doing it anymore. I don't think there's a UK version of it anymore, as far as I know. I think that ended back in 2014. But to answer your question, kind of in a roundabout way, I like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I'd say between Family Feud, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and Wheel of Fortune, those are my top 3 game shows.
Yeah, you hit on. To me, anytime you talk game shows, you got to bring up Family Feud. That's probably my all-time favorite, from the music and all the hosts have been good. I even like Steve Harvey. To this day,
Steve Harvey's hilarious now.
Yeah, you got to have a good host for Family Feud. And then they have Celebrity Family Feud. Any version of it is always just so awesome and funny, and you get just the wildest, wackiest answers to some of these ridiculous questions. So I always loved Family Feud. I thought it was the best. Sometimes get into Jeopardy a little bit and some Wheel of Fortune, even though the phrases at this point, none of them seem to make any sense anymore. But it's still very interesting to watch. But anyway, it was pretty. I love game shows, and to me, I always thought, man, it would be great to get out there and host Family Feud. That would be a fun gig to have. And Steve Harvey does a great job there. But anyway, back to pizza, Trent. And yes, I'm as you mentioned, with New York style pizza and the mom and pop places. I'm definitely, I will gravitate more to that style of pizza, especially if it's incredibly delicious. I come from a place where there are so many different options as far as pizza is concerned, and you find really special places like I did growing up, whether it was Louie and Ernie's or I used to work in Brooklyn, and there was a place called Originals where
Originals, like spelled like legit, like the word original?
Yeah, and basically it was a huge slice, New York style pizza, and there was so much cheese and grease. You had to fold it, and it could be, but fresh.
Fold it like a sandwich.
Yeah, if you got a pie of that stuff, and it's fresh right out of the oven, some of the most delicious. You can't imagine how delicious this slice of pizza is. But, all that stuff up in New York, I've yet to. There are decent pizza places down here in Florida, but still nothing compares to New York so far.
Well, the last time we were together, you took me to we went out to a pizza place of our own. We went out to a little place down, where we're at, and man, it's good with the honey barbecue sauce and the pizza and all the pepperoni and the sausage, and it's so good. Even whenever I went back to my strategic location, quote unquote, Rich and I are in the same location every now and then. He's always very accommodating whenever I come up there. So it's very, very nice to it's always a warm welcome whenever I come up there. So that's nice. Hopefully those days never come to an end.
We'll get together again soon. And that was Pharaoh's on Flagler Beach.
Pharaoh's, that's what it was. Yeah,
I give
Pharaoh's
them
on
credit
Flagler Beach
because they have their own style, and I think their pizza is really good. And as you mentioned, that's probably my favorite there. It's kind of like this spicy honey glaze on a pepperoni pizza, and it's pretty delicious. So not really spicy, but more sweet. Not spicy.
I love the combination with the sweet and salty though.
Yeah, sweet and salt. Yep, salty. That's a good point. But they do a great job. I think they have really good pizza there, and it's right on the beach. It's a cool experience. Pharaoh's on Flagler Beach. So anyway, we did a Super Radio Brothers highlights video on Spicy Lovers Pizza from Pizza Hut because of March Madness. I reviewed it. It was very spicy. The overall experience, I said, was an 8 out of 10. To get more on it, check out the video on YouTube and Facebook and everywhere. But Trent, after you checked out the video, Super Radio Brothers highlights, Pizza Hut Spicy Lovers Pizza, would you try it? Is that something you would be interested in?
It's ironic because my taste buds really have not been equipped to really kind of taste fast food. I mean, not fast food, spicy food. Unfortunately, I don't like fast food either, but spicy food. It's just something with it. I have to get used to it. Now, I had a phase whenever I was in middle school where I loved like Tabasco sauce for a little bit. Just I like the flavor. But after a while, I couldn't stand the heat. But in terms of this, I think I would try that. If somebody gave me a slice of that spicy lover pizza, you gave it an 8 out of 10. I'm not a B person. I know a B is above average. I get that, but I would be more of like an A person. If you gave me a 9 out of 10, I'd be maybe more inclined to try it. But I'll try an 8 out of 10 slice of pizza. But just the way you talked about it, with the spicy lovers, with all the spices kind of mixed in, and with the, all the other toppings that were on the pizza, I'd probably be motivated to try it because I like to try new things. With pizza, for me, all I would used to eat whenever I was a child was like cheese, and really all I liked was meat lovers. But now I've branched out as I've gotten older. I like peppers and onions, and even whenever you had me try that day at Farrell's, whenever you had me try that barbecue style pizza, I like that as well. So, but to answer your question, yeah, I think I would. I might have to try it this weekend, and I may have to kind of give my take on the little Super Radio highlight. If I get a chance to go to Pizza Hut this weekend, I don't know if I will, but the next time I do, I will have to try it myself and see how it tastes.
Cool. Yeah, people from New York might think it's sacrilege, but and I'm definitely a bigger fan of the mom and pop, special pizza shop at the corner, the whole thing. But growing up, I always did dig Pizza Hut. It was my favorite of the chain pizza places. You got Domino's, you got Little Caesars, you got Papa John's. Pizza Hut was definitely always my favorite. And it basically tastes like a Pizza Hut pizza, but spicy. And I love spicy food, big time. So it was right up my alley. I thought it was cool. If me and Trent, and everybody were getting together to enjoy the Final Four this weekend, you know what? Couple beers, and yeah, I'll definitely order the Spicy Lovers pizza from Pizza Hut. I thought it was pretty good.
I'd eat some no matter what. But you talk about chains. One more thing on that. In terms of pizza chains, I'm like you. I like the mom and pop style places. I like the there's a place down here in the Sebring area called Zach's Barbecue and Pizza. It used to be owned by a guy named Vincent. Vincent's New York style pizza down here in Sebring was so good. I mean, I would order. The pieces were so big. You would get full if you ate two of them. I mean, if you ate two pieces. Now I could probably eat 3 Pizza Hut style pizzas. I could eat 4 and still, could probably hammer down another slice if I wanted to. I don't like to eat a pizza in one sitting. I like leftovers. Rich, I'm a leftover guy.
No.
If I want to, if I want a pizza, I'll eat, 2 or 3 slices for a meal or something. If I'm having lunch or dinner, or I've even eaten pizza for breakfast. That's a ritual. I've done that. But
let me ask you something, Trent. When you do that, are you a cold pizza person, or do you have to heat it up?
I like them both ways.
Oh,
Doesn't matter.
Cool.
Doesn't matter. Are you a cold pizza guy?
I can do it, but I'd much prefer to heat it up.
Whenever I heat it up, though, I like it in the oven. I like heat just because the crust is harder.
I'm not doing microwave, Trent. It's not happening. It has to be the oven.
No. Somebody. People always ask me. They're like, you're weird. You like it in the oven? No. Pizza in the oven is the best. Let me tell you something. Don't knock it till you try it. That's my response. I
got your back, Trent. They're weird. You're not weird. You're just slightly odd. Okay.
Oh, you are too, but I mean, everybody is in their own way.
Yes, of course. All right, so there you go. Pizza discussion, Spicy Lovers, pizza review, Super Radio Brothers highlights. Check it out on YouTube, Facebook, all social media platforms. Trent,
I already ate dinner at the time of this thing being recorded, but let me tell you something. I could use some pizza right now, actually, as a matter of fact.
Now I'm starving. I can't take it.
I might have to order some tomorrow night, with it being a Friday.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Yeah, I was thinking about ordering it again. I really did like it. All right, here, I think we should do some news, Trent. You want to do some news?
Might as well.
All right, let's do that. Yes, the news. From this how we call it, it is the news and our lead story.
The toilet flushing gets me every time.
It got you even more pumped up for some news, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't understand why more news stations like CNN or Fox News, why don't they use more toilet effects? I think it would enhance the experience.
Not everybody in the world is like us.
That's a good point, Trent. Good stuff. All right, so we do start with the poop news. This was interesting poop news right here. SpaceX astronauts, Trent, and usually when you hear an astronaut story, it's all about the hero aspect of it, and it's glorious. And but here's an astronaut story for you that's not glorious. An astronaut story. SpaceX astronauts are rocking diapers on a trip back to Earth after a toilet on the company's Dragon capsule broke in advance of their journey from the International Space Station. Can you imagine? So they got to return to Earth, Trent, wearing diapers.
That sounds strange.
I'll tell you a strange story. So I have an uncle Uncle John. You want to hear about Uncle John?
John. That's a typical uncle name. Yeah. What's your uncle's name? Oh, John.
How about
yeah,
Uncle John? Good. So Uncle John Trent, just so you know, this is a man who's about 6'7", 300 pounds, huge mass of a man. You know what I'm talking about?
Muscular guy?
No.
Okay.
Just a huge mass of a man.
Okay, gotcha. Now, okay, I didn't hear that last part because whenever we say 300 pounds, that's my next question. Okay, is it muscle or is it the other stuff?
No, he's. Remember the stuff we were just talking about, the Pizza Hut pizza?
Yes.
Yeah, he can do more than 4 slices. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So,
yeah, I catch your drift.
Big dude. So Uncle John, one year, he lives in upstate New York, up in Rochester. He comes down to New York with the intention of going to the ball dropping ceremony for New Year's Eve at Times Square in New York City. You know about that, right?
Oh, of course. I mean, I've never actually been in person, but I watch it every year.
So when Times Square fills up with thousands of people, and if you get caught in that crowd, stands to reason you're not going to be able to get to a bathroom, for hours and hours and hours. And, because people are basically crowded all around Times Square, and they're all lining up early because they want to be there when the ball drops. So from the morning, people are lining up in Times Square all the way till nighttime. So, if you want to be near the ball dropping, you're going to be there all day. So my Uncle John, all 6'7", 300 pounds of him, went to enjoy the ball dropping ceremony in Times Square. And he's an older man at this time. I think he was late 50s, early 60s. And man, how did you survive out there for all of these hours without being able to get to a bathroom? And turns out big old Uncle John wore a diaper.
Whoa!
So yeah, you stand out there, and I
bet
how
old of a man was he?
He's late 50s, early 60s.
Okay.
So he's out there in a diaper, and this is a huge dude, and basically, I think he's not the only one. If you're out, a lot of people out there got to be wearing diapers, pooping on themselves.
Yeah.
That's the price you pay to celebrate New Year's, Trent.
No, of course. You gotta, you
gotta wear a diaper.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to wear it because, I mean, hey, and who knows, the bathroom lines could be an hour and a half. You're lucky, because you don't want to go to the bathroom necessarily because you don't want to miss anything. You don't want to miss the celebrity performances. You don't want to miss any of that. But then because there's so many people there, the lines in the bathroom are going to be extremely long. So if you go, you're not just going to be in there for, less than 5 minutes like you normally would. Okay. So you just have to keep an eye on that.
So there you go. Astronauts returning to Earth have to wear diapers because the toilet is broken. But hey, at least they don't have to get up to go use the bathroom, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Trent, let's move on. Any other news from you?
Oh, yeah, I got some. I got a few stories here. A guy, first of all, Rich, I have to ask you, are you a credit card type of person or are you a debit card person? Like whenever you pay for stuff, do you use your debit card or credit or do you like to use the old-fashioned way? Are you a cash guy?
I'm definitely not a cash guy. I've gotten used to using Apple Pay on a lot of things and PayPal and things like that. But I don't like credit cards because I don't like to use credit. So I do own credit card, but I don't really ever use it.
Well, have you ever tried to use your credit card to like jimmy a lock on a door, for example? Maybe trying to go into a home?
Trent, I'm from the Bronx. What do you think? Of course I can open a door using a credit card.
I'm sure you probably have. Yeah.
I have.
But anyway, the guy, this guy over in Germany lost his credit card, but he was arrested for losing his credit. Not for losing his credit card, but he lost his credit card, which subsequently led to his arrest so the police could find him. So this guy tried to pull off one of these robberies that you try to see on TV, that you see. Sometimes you see all these robberies in movies that are like, what is he doing? So he ended up showing up to this guy's house. He stuck his credit card kind of inside the door, like where you try to pick the lock. Well, the credit card ended up breaking. Those things are not, set. They're not durable like that. It's hard to, you can easily snap a credit card and break it into 1,000 pieces if you tried to. But he tried to he tried to use it to kind of break this lock, but then unfortunately, the part of the card that broke was the part that had, you guessed it, Rich, his name and the account number.
Genius.
So you know how easy it was for the police to catch him.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Well, why did I get arrested?" Well, you shouldn't have left your name and your part with the credit card with your name and account number. That's basically in sports terms, that's leaving him wide open for him to take it in and score for a touchdown. That's like easy pickings for a police department.
Yeah, for me, anytime I used a credit card to try to open a locked door, it's because I locked myself out. But if you're actually trying to commit a crime, maybe don't use your own credit card. Sounds like a dumb move.
Yeah, well, I guess it's better than trying to create a false counterfeit credit card.
That's true.
But
that's a whole other level, Trent.
Yes, absolutely. But anyway, have you ever tried to enter a courthouse with a bag of roaches? First of all, do you like roaches, Rich? I'm not a big roach guy, but
I love roaches. I think they're fantastic creatures. Of course not. Who loves roaches? They're disgusting, horrible, despicable creatures. And but however, I do like spiders, Trent. What do you think of spiders?
I can take them or leave them. They don't really bother me.
Yeah. Do you know why I would prefer a spider over a roach, Trent?
Why?
Well, because I'm glad you asked. Because basically, roaches, first of all, they are scavengers. All right, they're looking for your garbage. They're trying to feed off of us. They're dirty. They're despicable. Whereas spiders, they're hunters. They don't care about us. They're beneficial organisms. They're eating all of the other bugs that would otherwise be a nuisance in your home. So spiders, hunters, and roaches, scavengers, and a nuisance. That's the difference, Trent.
Oh yeah, I understand that. Well, but this security guard ended up kind of asking. He stopped this guy who was walking into the courthouse and stopped him and said, "Excuse me, sir, what's in that bag?" You know how you have to, whenever you go through security, you got to go through a metal detector. You got to put your bags kind of in this little basket thing. You got to take everything out of your pockets. You got to do all that just to comply with the rules and what have you. Well,
Trent, I actually don't have to do that because I'm Rich Carroll. So they just we know who you are, and they let me in. So
those are the famous last words. But yeah, those are the famous last words. That's something to say. But anyway, so where was I going with this? So the security guard ended up kind of turning him away and was like, "Hey man, what's going on? What's happening here? With all these roaches, what are you going to do?" Well, the guy that had no response for him, so the security guard said, "You can't come in. You got to ditch the roaches before you come in here." Well, unfortunately, I was kind of hoping for a dispute or something with the security guard to try to kind of get him in an argument about roaches, which would have been the funniest thing ever. But no, he did not dispute, and everything was peachy clean. But I got a story about roaches. I'm in a band, as you know, and my band leader, every year he performs at elementary schools in my area, for younger kids, like during Christmas time, performs Christmas carols and has them sing and has them, I think like they have food for the kids, like they have like dessert and cake and all that kind of stuff for the kids to kind of enjoy while listening to the concert, and they're up and dancing. Well, he brings every child a kind of a pretend roach, a roach that is dead but is pretend at the same time. So one time I decided to play a trick on my sister, because I couldn't see the roaches. I felt them. I'm like, "What is this?" And people were like, "Oh, you're not scared?" And I'm like, "No, because I don't see them. I've never seen a roach. I mean, I felt them. They feel kind of weird, but I mean,
right."
Take them or leave. I think as a visually impaired person, I may have more appreciation for insects than sighted people do. I do hate gnats, though. I hate gnats. I hate mosquitoes. I hate love bugs.
Elaborate on that, Trent. What is your appreciation for insects?
Well, I mean, I know that they're around. I know they have to live too, and so I mean, I just I don't necessarily get freaked out whenever they're around. Is what I'm saying. Gotcha. I don't fear them. So, but anyway, my band leader said that he was giving everybody a dead roach or a pretend roach. So my sister, he gave every member of the band one. Said, "Hey, if you want to play a trick on somebody, go ahead." So of course, me, I'm mischievous. I like to do all that, and I ended up sticking the roach under my 11-year-old sister's pillow one night. And she ended up taking the pillow, and she ended up looking under it, and she saw a roach. And I kid you not, Rich, she screamed so loud that the walls shook. And it was pretty funny.
Now, when that happened, Trent, when your sister's screaming and you know it's because of your practical joke, did you, in that moment, did you laugh or did you feel bad?
It was mixed. Like, it was funny because I played a practical joke, but then again, like me, I'd feel bad. You know, I did end up going in there and telling her. I said, "Hey, Nora, it was a joke. You know, I'm sorry." And she's like, "Don't ever do that again."
You had mixed emotions about it. You were torn. You were like, "Oh, that was a brilliant joke," but at the same time, you felt bad.
Yeah, I felt bad just for her reaction. But then again, I couldn't say that I couldn't say that her reaction wasn't too far from what I predicted. So I mean, I understand. I understand
that
why
was the reaction you were going for.
Sure was.
All right.
So, but anyway, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, we got more. Okay, we got more stories. Okay. Yeah. Well, let's see.
I got something here, Trent. Let me get you a couple here. First of all, a dog rescues a Rhode Island family from a fire.
Wow.
How about that? Dogs are amazing. You have to. I think everybody should have a dog, Trent. Everybody should have a dog. A family of 5 was alerted to a fire in their Rhode Island home when they were awakened by their dog. It appears the fire started on the exterior of the structure, says Hopkins Hill Fire Chief Frank Brown. The dog saw the fire on the porch and alerted the family. The dog's name is Cooter, and he was very recently adopted by the family. So they bring him in, and there he is right away, proving his worth by getting out there and saving everybody in the family's life. So congratulations to that dog for doing such a cool thing. And I have witnessed amazing feats by dogs, Trent. I've never told you this, but when I was, I think I never, maybe you've heard this story, but maybe not. People who listen to this show have heard this story before.
I won't stop you if I have, so go ahead and continue.
But I had a small dog, the Pebbles, growing up. And this dog lived to be about 16, 17 years old, something like that. So she lived forever. And one very incredible evening, now let me tell you about this other pet I had. I had fishies, Trent, fish.
Oh, okay.
We had a fish tank, right? And at one point, this fish tank had 10, 15 fish in it. But for whatever reason, this one fish, which I think was a goldfish, just started to grow. And as it grew, it started to eat every other fish in the tank until every other fish was gone, and you just had this one giant goldfish in the tank. And it was pretty amazing. And we didn't know what to do. Eventually, we realized, can't put any more fish in there. It's just going to eat it. So we just had the one huge goldfish in a pretty big fish tank. One evening, and then the fish would get into the habit of jumping and hitting the top of the fish tank. Man, this fish is crazy. So one night, I'm laying in bed, and the Pebbles, my little dog, starts coming into my room, looking at me, walking out, walking back in the room, looking at me, then eventually starts barking at me. And I'm like, well, what the heck is this? Is odd behavior. What's wrong with this dog? So I get up and follow the dog, and the dog walks into the living room and points at the ground, and there's the giant goldfish on the ground because it's always jumping up. It jumped out of the fish tank onto the ground and was dying on the ground. So I scoop up the fish, put it back in the tank, and the fish starts swimming around, and he's cool. And that dog, the Pebbles, went and saved that fish's life. I mean, that, you want to talk about incredible behavior. She kept coming back into my room. She would not give up to try to get my attention. Like, you need to get out here. And yeah, I got out there, and there was the fish laying on the ground, and then put it back in the fish tank. I'm like, wow, Pebbles, you saved that fish's life. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah, wow, that is. Yeah. I mean, hey, dogs are not just animals you play with. I mean, dogs are smart too. I mean, they can tell if you're having a bad day. If their human is having a bad day, they can tell that something is wrong. I mean, it's very easy to tell. And they truly want their owner, their companion, to be well off. And I've noticed that if my mom is having a bad day, or if my sisters are having a bad day, and my dog notices it, well, yeah, I mean, he's going to notice it and he's going to, show them love and affection. It's what they do.
That's what they do. Do you have any more news stories, Trent?
I certainly do. I got a couple more here, but Rich, have you ever heard this story about? Yeah, have you ever heard a situation where someone kind of steals clothing from somewhere? Whether it be a store or whether it be, of course, I'm sure people have stolen clothes and shirts and stuff like that. I mean, it's happened. But
are you asking me if I've ever stolen, Trent?
No, I didn't necessarily ask
Bronx?
that.
That's messed up, dude. That's not right.
I mean, you may have. I don't know. I mean, who knows? But I wouldn't think you. I wouldn't think you'd be that type of person. But I mean, I've learned more about you on this show than
Now I question.
Yeah, exactly. But no. Anyway, what I'm about to say is, a man in Germany. Of course, it seems like we've had stories from Germany the past few weeks with men. There's something in their water or something over there. Stole over 1,500 panties.
Wow.
Women's panties and bras and other pieces of clothing from a particular area, from a particular apartment complex laundry room. Can you believe that?
Oh my goodness!
And after the man was charged with stealing 93 pounds or equivalent to 1,500 pair of women's panties, bras, and other clothes. But it doesn't say why he did it. This is a story where I have a bunch of questions.
I have questions.
The police believe that the panties and the bras were taken from an apartment complex laundry room, and he has been charged with several charges, and he's booked in a jail over in Germany. So how about that? I've never heard that before.
That is very weird, and I don't know. Maybe he was going to wear them. Maybe that's something. He needed some bra and panties, or maybe he just knows a lot of women. He's got a lot of female family members, and I don't know. What can we say? There's no motivation here, Trent. What can we guess? What can we say?
I don't know.
He just wanted some panties.
I mean, yeah. There's no motivation.
Well,
it's
he
kind of
had a
one of those
motivation.
stories.
I can't figure it out.
In a story, I always look for the who, the what, the when, the where, and the why, and the how. And like over 90% of those questions haven't been answered.
Yeah, how? That's a lot of panties. How did he do that? And
yeah.
And exactly why? There's a lot of unanswered questions here, Trent.
Yeah. Okay. So what else you got?
Speaking of unanswered questions, 4 years ago, a Scottish man, Gregor Stewart, purchased a doll in California. The seller was eager, and now Stewart knows why. So the seller wanted to get rid of this doll. He's like, I don't want this. So why did he want to get rid of this doll, a ventriloquist doll? Well, this dude Stewart claims the doll opens and closes its mouth by itself, and it's haunted, just like that movie, Annabelle. So freaky. He says now, this Stewart character, he says, we spoke to the spirit with the use of a spirit box. I'm not sure what that is. And I know what a spirit board is, but this is saying a spirit box. I'm not sure what that is. So anyway, Scottish man claims to have purchased a haunted ventriloquist doll. Trent, any thoughts on that? Is that possible? Is this doll possessed by a demon?
I mean, I've never. It's demons scare me. I have to admit. But yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, this guy definitely has some things going on with him. That's for sure.
I don't know. Maybe it's not a demon, Trent. Maybe it's a good spirit. But I don't know. My experience watching movies, spirits that possess dolls are demons. Like you ever saw Child's Play? It was about that kid's doll that starts killing everybody.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Chucky. And now they have Annabelle. Every movie I see, the doll is not possessed by a nice spirit. It's possessed by so I'm assuming demon here. And if you're this guy and your ventriloquist doll was possessed, wouldn't you get rid of it?
Oh yeah, without question. Yeah, for sure.
So I think that story is a little bit fishy, Trent. a little bit.
Definitely,
fishy.
literally and figuratively. There's no question about that. Anyway, my last story here, I have to tell you, is of course, you're a gardener, aren't you, Rich? I know you tell me that you do some gardening on the weekends occasionally. You and your wife do a few garden projects every now and then.
Well, my wife is more the gardener, but I do assist. I would be an assistant gardener, I would say.
Okay, that's a nice title, an assistant gardener.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, whenever
I
she's
dig
been gardening,
holes, Trent. I'm good at digging holes.
Okay, well, you are that. There's no doubt. But anyway,
Call me hole digger. When referring to my gardening skills, just call me hole digger.
Okay. Sometimes you dig metaphorical holes for yourself too, occasionally.
It's
but
hard to
whatever
get
that
yourself
means.
out of those. Yeah.
Yeah, so you got to dig.
The
Yeah,
old
but anyway,
metaphorical hole.
has your wife ever, whenever she's been gardening, has she ever seen like what looks to be either a decomposed hand or like a fake hand with like in her actual garden? Has she ever seen anything like that?
Sharon, have you ever seen a decomposed hand or a fake hand in your garden? She's seen a snake, but not a hand, Trent.
Oh, okay. Well, this
I would be more scared of the snake personally, but.
Oh yeah, well, in the United Kingdom, police say police were called to a man's home who was gardening and thought to have seen a decomposed hand while he was gardening. Well, actually, it come to find out it was made out of rubber, so it was a fake hand. Officers began their investigation and didn't know if it was a rubber hand or a decomposed hand or a joke hand. We'll come to find out. Look, they said it was a practical joke that was played on the man. It's unclear whether charges were filed or not, but that would be scary if you found a rubber hand or something like that. Would look to be, that would freak me out if I was, digging something out of a garden, like looking for, a flower or something, and next, feeling like a hand, and I knew that nobody else was there. that would scare me for life.
Oh yeah, you'd be scarred for life. I just, I think the snake I would be a little more worried about. This week there was another similar story I didn't pull, but I did see it. I forget where it was, but police responded to reports of skeletal remains, and it turned out to be artificial remains, like those Halloween things you hang up, of a skeleton. So there's a whole lot of that going on right now, it seems.
Yeah, it is. But that's the last story for me in terms of the news. We had some doozies this week.
Oh yeah, and finally from me, Trent, I thought this was pretty interesting. Ancient tomb found beneath Notre Dame is remarkable scientific discovery of a sealed sarcophagus. I thought this was pretty fascinating.
Try to say that 5 times fast.
In a Da Vinci Code-esque moment of discovery. Have you ever read any of those books or seen any of the movies, Trent? Da Vinci Code?
No, I have not.
So basically it's this huge conspiracy that the Da Vinci Code was this huge conspiracy that the Dead Sea Scrolls pointed to a fact that Jesus did not die on the cross, that he actually had a family after everything, or maybe he did die on the cross, but he had a family and children and generations after him, that the bloodline survived. So the story is kind of basically about the Jesus bloodline. Anyway, this article says, in a Da Vinci Code-esque moment of discovery, archaeologists have uncovered multiple stone tombs on a lead sarcophagus under the floor of Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. They're described as remarkable scientific discovery and consists of several slot tombs and a completely preserved human-shaped sarcophagus made of lead, which the excavators believe still contains human remains, suspecting as originating in the 13th century. The find was uncovered under the floor during preparatory work to reconstruct the cathedral, which caught fire back in 2019. So that's pretty amazing stuff like that. When you have a building there that's been there for centuries, and all of a sudden you find under the building a bunch of tombs with a lead sarcophagus, that's pretty wild, man.
Oh yeah, without question. That's it's kind of sounds like something you'd see in a movie, and obviously it is a movie, but that's
It
Wow.
is. Starring Tom Hanks, by the way, the greatest Hollywood star in the history of Hollywood. How about that?
That's good.
Is that debatable, Trent? Would you go somewhere else with that?
I mean, there are several Hollywood stars out there, but I'd say I agree with you. I'd say Tom Hanks is definitely one of the biggest.
He's one of the tops, that's for sure. And what can I say, Trent, other than that is the news.
Super Radio Rundown.
Yes, Super Radio Rundown. So many things going on in the world of entertainment, Trent. And let's start it off here because I think you can't, there's no way you can do a show and not talk about it. But obviously, we had the Oscars this past week, and nobody cares about any of the awards or anything that happened other than the fact that Will Smith lost his head and went up there and smacked Chris Rock after he made a bad joke about his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith. So, Trent, have you heard about what went down at the Oscars?
Have I heard about it?
Yeah.
I watched it.
Oh, you were all over it.
Yeah, I watched it. I mean, I watched it on YouTube the next day because I was actually in bed, before it, got over with the other night. But on Sunday, let me tell you something, man. That was something else. Let me. And my first thing is, I understand that people want to be funny, and that's the whole thing. Yes, some comedic jokes and some comedic skits are going to offend people. There's no doubt about it. It's inevitable. The inevitability of someone getting offended if you're a comedian is so high that you should be aware of that before you get into the profession. Do you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot that comes with heading in that direction for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, so you look at it, and he made that joke and everything. But if I were Chris Rock, I wouldn't have done what I did, and went up there and slap him. But that's all easier said than done, because whenever your emotions take you over, you don't realize that you've done something sometimes until you've actually done it, and until the consequences have been faced. And until you realize that, oh man, I just really messed this up. So I mean, his initial reaction, his initial impulse, if you will, was to go up and hit him, and because he was very upset with what it was. Now, was it could it have been a little bit of an acting job? Yeah, he was on TV. Sometimes that happens whenever you have an audience. You attempt to, especially us, radio stars and stuff like that. As if I were to get mad at you, I don't think I would go up and slap you, on stage. But it's neither here nor there.
You could slap me, Trent. It's okay.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not in the same location.
It's like right now you can slap me. It's okay. It's since you're like way far away.
Exactly.
Oh, you did it. Oh, look, it's not as bad as the Chris Rock smack, but Trent smacked me.
Yeah, I know. That's sad. History made on Super Radio Brothers.
Yeah.
A virtual slap,
yeah,
as they say.
The first ever virtual smack.
I wish there was an emoji for a virtual smack. I mean, there's one for like a closed fist, giving like a fist bump and everything. Yeah. But that I guess that's the closest thing. I guess you could use it.
I don't know. Maybe there's like an open hand that looks like it could be a smack. I don't know.
I'd send that to you every day. Open hand.
Smack. Every day he deserves a smack.
Every day of the week, including Saturday and Sunday. But
come on, you gotta give me a weekend at least. I'm trying to have a weekend here, Trent.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely.
Enough with the smacks.
But look, and I say all of this to say, I understand you kind of have to be, you gotta. You're a comedian, but anybody can cross a line, and I think that hey, if Chris Rock felt that he crossed the line, he's entitled to his feelings. I think.
Well, how about this, Trent? Here's the moment. Just nobody missed it, but here's the moment, just because.
Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
I'm going to, okay? Okay.
So obviously Chris Rock had to take a moment there to gather himself, because you have this freaking madman come up on stage and smack you in the face for what was a G.I. Jane joke. It's a joke that's beneath Chris Rock. First of all, what is G.I. Jane? It's a movie from the late 90s starring Demi Moore, who at the time was considered one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood. So Chris Rock just compared your wife to one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood, yet you considered it an insult. Obviously, he's referring to the fact that she has a bald head, but still he's comparing. And I have to say also, G.I. Jane was like the calling card, the big inspiration for the feminists at the time. Here's a woman that joins the armed forces, can do anything a man can do, and yes, she had a bald head, but it was a G.I. Jane joke. And it's for someone to be compared to G.I. Jane is not necessarily an awful, horrible thing if you actually look at it. And it was definitely an Oscars joke. Rock is famous for going in at people, going after people, and different comedy, but it's a joke. First of all, you need to be able to take a joke. And yes, they talk about how how Jada was last year very open about her battle with alopecia. That, to be honest with you, before this happened, I didn't even know what that was.
I didn't either.
But apparently it's a condition where you end up losing your hair. And look, I get it. You can be insulted, but if you treat someone like a human being, you go up to them after the show and that joke wasn't cool. Are you aware of my wife's situation? Do you understand like what she's gone through? And Chris Rock would probably tell him, you know what? I didn't do my homework on that. I didn't know about that, because guess what? Not everybody in the world knows what's going on with the Smiths. Okay, not everybody's watching Jada's vlog. And other people have said this. There's no way Chris Rock knew of this alopecia condition. He looked out in the crowd. He saw Jada with a bald head, and he made a G.I. Jane joke, which again, G.I. Jane is not a bad thing to be compared to. Okay, she's one of the great feminist movies of all time. So people love G.I. Jane, and they love Demi Moore's performance in that movie. Now, I'm not saying that you don't get insulted by it if you're Will Smith, but look at what Will Smith did. He took a career that he's been building for 30 years, all the way back to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, to prove himself as even before that, when he was a rapper, right? He goes from being a rapper to an actor, and of course the great success of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and then that eventually developed into a movie career, and all of that leading to this night, which would have been the biggest night in his career. I guess you can make an argument it still was, and for all the wrong reasons, and of course for the right reason, where he wins the Academy Award for Best Performance for his role in the movie about the Williams sisters' father, King Richard, about everything that went on there. But you took a 30-year career that was going to culminate to this night, where you finally win the Oscar for Best Actor, the top of the top. You've reached the top of the mountain, and he took that night and he ruined it. He destroyed it. And if you go back and look at the video, Chris Rock makes the joke, and he actually laughs at the joke. Like Will Smith's first reaction is to laugh.
Really, he does laugh.
He laughs at the joke. Then he turns and he sees Jada roll her eyes, and that sent him on fire, And he runs up there and he takes,
like Marv Alberts, he used to say, he is on fire.
Yeah, he was on fire. And let's be honest. If that's The Rock up there, if that's Jason Momoa, if that's some huge dude, Will Smith isn't pulling that garbage. Chris Rock is half his size. This is a little man, and you're going to go up there and assault him live on television? It was just, it was a disgusting, horrible thing to do. And again, and then this is Chris Rock, who's a comedian, who's just up there trying to make a living, right? He's trying to be relevant. he made a bad joke. Again, it's a joke that was beneath him. But I'm shocked that Will Smith had that reaction. I think he's probably a disturbed individual, because again,
I think there's more going on up there.
There's just, there are better ways. Much smarter men than me have said violence is never the answer, right? And here you have a millionaire walking on stage to smack another millionaire in the face because he made a bad joke. And there were just better ways to handle that situation. So it was extremely bizarre.
You handle it like adults. If you handle it like men,
exactly.
If
you talk to him
example,
like a man after the show. Yeah, let's talk about this. Exactly. You don't walk on stage and smack another man in the face like that. And to Chris Rock's credit, he kind of that audio didn't show it, but he recovered nicely. He made the joke right after getting slapped in the face. The greatest night in television history. But the real loser here, and Chris Rock decided not to press charges. And Will Smith, of course.
Yeah, because he didn't play down to Will Smith's level, which is good.
And Will Smith eventually wins the Academy Award, gets on stage, gives the speech, the whole thing.
Was he booed?
No, he was not booed. There was kind of a mixed reaction from what I understand. I wasn't watching it at the time. I don't really care for award ceremonies. But another interesting...
Yeah, I'm not either, but normally after something like that, after a big controversy like that, there will probably be a lot of outrage with the fans, some booing, some, really not sure
well,
whether
that's
they
the
should...
thing, Trent. In this room, these aren't fans. This is the Oscars. That's what makes it obnoxious. This is an industry congratulating itself. These are all actors and producers and directors in the crowd. These are
right.
This is just Hollywood patting itself on the back. It's an extremely boring, tedious award ceremony. So you got a bunch of people, and I think most of them thought it was a joke at first. But anyway, I thought it was interesting, Trent. The following night, late night television. As you know, when you're talking about Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, and all these guys, they had their shot at this incident. And let's hear some of the best jokes from the following night.
Oh, Richard! Oh, wow! Wow, indeed. The old hitch slap. Even Kanye was like, you went on stage and did what at an award show?
Yep, in just a split second, the Oscars went from Oscar de la Renta to Oscar de la Hoya, everyone in the audience looked shocked, and for once it wasn't from the Botox.
Salting Chris Rock and then winning the Oscar, it's like storming out of the house after breaking up with your girlfriend, then coming back in because you forgot your keys, The Academy seriously discussed having Will Smith removed from the theater, but instead, they decided to let him give the longest Best Actor speech in history. Which, of course, it was the longest Best Actor speech in history. They weren't going to play him off. You'd have beat the crap out of everybody in the band.
So there you go. That was the reaction from the late night shows the following night. I just, it'll be interesting to see how Hollywood reacts to Will Smith after this. If he's blackballed, does he get projects after this? Where does his career go from here? Because I really think, Trent, that just to close this out, he took what was supposed to be the best night of his career and destroyed it. That's what I saw.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately when people kind of feed on that type of drama, and when people kind of, that's why they say, kind of take a deep breath before you react, because, you could be jeopardizing your career, you could be jeopardizing, everything just in one moment, just because, of a few minutes that you just felt angry could cost you a lifetime of success.
Just ruin everything. Yeah, you're 100% right about that. So, all right. Another thing, we were just talking about the people who are in the audience. How about this, Trent? The Academy Awards, when you go to an event, you get a gift bag sometimes. You get a bag of goodies. Well, the bag of goodies for people who attended the Academy Awards was worth over $100,000.
Wow.
Can you imagine showing up and you get a bag of goodies just for showing up that's worth over $100,000?
Yeah, that's pretty good, man.
That's pretty good. So let's see. So nominees, people who showed up, they received a 3-night stay in a Scottish castle, a small plot of land in Scotland, $12,000 toward liposuction procedure from Dr. Thomas Sue. So
wow.
looking for that liposuction. $25,000 in home renovations, and popcorn. So the gift bag also included alcohol, skincare items, and toys, with the total cost of the goodie bag amounting to over $100,000. That must have been that was a big bag, Trent. It must have been a really big bag.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was what would you do with $100,000 goodie bag?
I'd sell it.
I tell you,
I'd sell I don't want any of that stuff. I'm selling all of it. I want the money.
I heard that.
It's more with the Oscars here, Trent. You ever check out any James Bond movies? Do you know of James Bond, Trent?
Oh, of course I know him. Yeah, The Kiss of Death and all that, stuff like that. Sure, yeah, I know.
Are you have you watched James Bond movies? Do you know the different actors? Like Sean Connery was the original James Bond, and then Roger Moore took over, and you even had the likes of Timothy Dalton and Pierce Brosnan, and the latest in Daniel Craig.
Oh yeah, I've heard all those names. That's for sure.
Cool. So Daniel Craig was the last one. In October, Trent. And these are all based on the Ian Fleming novels as well. So James Bond has a long, rich history. But in October, Trent, the James Bond franchise reaches 60. By the way, the last Daniel Craig James Bond movie was the 25th movie in the franchise. So can you imagine a franchise getting up to 25 movies? But the James Bond franchise turned 60 in October, and it was honored during the Oscars. And I thought this was pretty cool. I think you'll get a kick out of this because of the music. But here's a little montage at the Oscars to celebrate James Bond.
I need you back.
I never left.
So there you go, James Bond turning 60 in October, honored at the Oscars. I go many different answers. We had Anthony Rapp, Super Radio Brother highlights. Check out the interview if you haven't already on YouTube and Facebook and all social media platforms. Anthony Rapp, we put him in the Super Radio Brothers hot seat, where you get 3. As a matter of fact, I don't think we've ever had you in the hot seat, Trent. So we might get you.
No, we have never had. No,
to get where you stand on some of this nerd stuff. So if you missed it, Anthony Rapp, 3 simple hot seat questions. He was first asked, well, Star Wars or Star Trek, and that's an obvious answer from him. He went Star Trek. And the second question was Marvel or DC Comics. He went DC Comics. And the third question was the best Bond of all time. And he actually went with Daniel Craig, who was the latest James Bond. Who I do dig the Daniel Craig movies. I don't like the way it ended. I was a little bit disappointed in the final movie, Bond 25. But, Daniel Craig did a great job. My favorite, most people would say Sean Connery. Yeah, Sean Bond, James Bond. They would go with Sean. That's a great impression, by the way, Trent. But if a lot of people go with the original Sean Connery, my favorite is actually Sir Roger Moore. He was actually the third Bond. I forget the name of the guy before him, but he only did one movie. Roger Moore did a bunch of Bond movies, and I guess he was the Bond when I was growing up, and his Bond movies were a bit sillier, a bit more funny. There was one called Moonraker where it was Bond in space. Hilarious. But anyway, I grew up with Roger Moore. He would be my favorite. So be interesting to see where they go with the franchise next after Daniel Craig and his time. It's going to be hard to follow that act. But yes, James Bond turning 60. Can you believe it? In October. But yeah, I'm a big fan, and being a big fan, Trent, Do you know of Bruce Willis?
Of course.
So Bruce Willis, big-time actor. I know him from the Die Hard movies, Yippee-Ki-Yay, MFer, all of that. And my favorite Bruce Willis performance, like a lot of actors, comes from Pulp Fiction. You ever see Pulp Fiction, Trent?
Oh, yeah, I've heard of it. Yep, no question about that.
Pulp Fiction, one of the great movies of all time, directed by Quentin Tarantino. Bruce Willis plays Butch. Great performance from him there. And, of course, all the Die Hard movies, The Last Boy Scout, you go on and on and on of all the Bruce Willis movies. His career took an odd turn these past couple of years. He did a ton of B movies that were straight-to-video movies. It was so odd to me to see a star as big as him in all of these low-budget films. Well, and I watched one of them, and it was absolutely terrible. It was kind of sad to see him in that movie. I forget the name of it at this point, but it was pretty awful. He's been in a bunch of them. You just look it up. Bruce Willis has been in a ton of B movies over the last couple of years. Well, really sad. Bruce Willis, Trent, he's retiring from acting because he's suffering from a disease called aphasia, a condition that affects a person's ability to speak or write or even understand words. So Bruce Willis, 67 years old, one of the great action actors of all time. Who doesn't love Die Hard? Here's a little compilation of Bruce Willis doing his thing just because he's Bruce Willis. Come on, he was one of the best. I love him.
Welcome to the party, pal!
9 million terrorists in the world, and I gotta kill one with feet smaller than my sister.
We need to get out of here right this second.
Whatever you say, Hardigan. Let me throw some clothes on.
Houston, you have a problem. See, I promised my little girl that I'd be coming home. Now, I don't know what you people are doing down there, but we got a hole to dig up here.
You're right, I shouldn't have done that. It was wrong to kiss you.
You looking at something, friend?
You ain't my friend, Palooka.
Dr. Crow, you believe my secret, right?
I don't know how to answer that call. Haven't you ever had a fantasy like this? About a night like this on a train like this?
Yep, only none of these people were in it, including you.
I love it when you talk mean to me.
Wouldn't it be great if I was crazy? Then the world would be okay. I wouldn't have to live underground. I lost the gun.
Where is the gun?
I could live right here.
Can't travel back in time.
Relax, guys, I'm fine.
Bruce Willis, thank you so much for the years of entertainment, and I hope he's going to be okay. That's really sad to hear. So,
Yeah, it really is. I'm sad to hear about that. It's always sad to hear an actor kind of retiring early or retiring due to health issues or health-related concerns, and that were unavoidable, unfortunately. So our best wishes and thoughts and prayers go out to Bruce Willis.
all right, there you go. So moving on here on the rundown. This was pretty interesting news that Spider-Man producers hope for more Raimi-verse movies, which was the really early 2000s. Kind of course, Blade came before that, and I think it was 97, but the Spider-Man movies really kind of ignited the idea that they can work in Hollywood with the Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. They had 3 films, and the 4th one didn't happen for various reasons, which led to a couple of reboots, including the Tom Holland one that we get now. But yeah, in an interview, producer Grant Curtis reflected on his time working on Raimi's Spider-Man movie trilogy and how it impacted him both as a producer and a fan, and he thought it was incredible for his career. Of course, he's currently the producer of Moon Knight on Disney+. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But it's been about 15 years since Spider-Man 3 hit theaters, and Curtis suggested that there's more stories to explore in that world. Now, I had heard that they were talking about doing more of the Raimi versus Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies in animated form. However, now possibly after seeing Tobey Maguire reprise his role in Spider-Man No Way Home this past winter, we just saw that, which was a ton of fun. He teamed up with Tom Holland and Garfield and all of those classic villains, the Green Goblin, everybody from all the old movies. It's a pretty cool movie. After seeing that work, there is talk that we might see another Raimi Maguire Spider-Man movie in this new multiverse type of atmosphere. So I don't know if you've seen any of the old Spider-Man movies, Trent, but that would be pretty exciting for everybody who dug them.
For sure.
So we're into that. Universal Studios are. Do you ever get on roller coasters or attractions or anything like that, Trent? Do you do that?
I used to love Space Mountain, man. I loved. There's nothing like it. I mean, just the thrill of kind of, I like the sensation of, just kind of going in there and kind of lifting up and, going upside down, and all of a sudden it just drops you down. The roller coasters used to kind of be kind of a like an exhilarating thing for me. Now, not so much. Yes, I only am 23 years of age, but it messes with my stomach and equilibrium every now and then. So
you're like an old dude.
I know. I don't try. I mean, it's sad. Like, I tried it even during my senior year, and I could go on maybe 3 at one time, and they're like, okay. I'm like, okay, I can't do it anymore. So,
I can't do it, Sonny.
Yeah, but yes, I used to love them back in the day. How about you? Did you like them?
Oh yeah, I love roller coasters. It's been a while. At my older, I do get a little queasy and sometimes a little dizzy, but I still dig it. It's pretty cool to get on a cool roller coaster time and again. But interesting news out of Universal Studios. Whoa. Interesting news out of Universal Studios, I would say, Trent, because if you're going there to enjoy the Harry Potter Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure, you got another thing coming to you. You're going to get some disappointing news right now, because the theme park recently confirmed that the ride's pre-show has been closed indefinitely. You know why this doesn't surprise me, Trent?
Why? Because it's happened before?
Because every time I go to Universal, it's closed anyway. That ride is never operational. So, but I have heard from people who have gotten on it that it is one of the best roller coasters, and that's saying a lot, but it's one of the best roller coasters in Central Florida. So it's always disappointing when I remember one time I went and I got there too late, and you get out there and it's just ridiculous. There's no getting in there. Then you go back another time and it's shut down. That has happened multiple times. So it's not a surprise to me that it's shut down yet again. But anyway, if you're planning on going to Universal Studios anytime soon, heading to Harry Potter Land, Hogwarts, all that, you're not going to get on the Hagrid ride, because once again, it's shut down. It's shut down. Surprise, surprise. I hope you're not disappointed, but at the same time, you will be, of course. Video game news. Video game. Yeah. All right, so we'll keep it moving here with some video game news. I guess the big news this week, a couple of things. There's there's PlayStation Plus. There are a couple of different online subscriptions you can have for PlayStation. You can have PlayStation Plus, but there's also PlayStation Now, which is kind of a Netflix thing for video games, where you can basically play any of the games that they have there with your monthly subscription rather than actually going out and buying a game. Well, there's an all-new PlayStation Plus experience that's launching 700 plus games and more value than ever, coming in June. So they're changing the whole thing here. And it's happening in June. They're bringing PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now together in an all-new PlayStation Plus subscription service that provides more choice to customers across 3 membership tiers globally. So, and I've considered the PlayStation Now thing. Now that they're combining it with PlayStation Plus, I might think about it, because the difference isn't too much. I pay $50 a year for PlayStation Plus. Well, PlayStation Extra, well, it's a lot more. So PlayStation Extra is the essential tier. Let's see if this is worth it. It's $50 more. Adds a catalog of up to 400 of the most enjoyable PS4 and PS5 games, including blockbuster hits from PlayStation Studios catalog and third-party partners. Games in the extra tier are downloadable for play, and also obviously you can play online. All that stuff is included. So you add that to your PlayStation Plus. Now it's PlayStation Plus Extra. That is $99 a year. So I don't know. I don't play enough games to justify that kind of purchase. But if you're a person who plays multiple games and likes to bounce around, and you can combine that with your PlayStation Plus with your PlayStation Now, if that works for you, I say go for it. It's a bit rich for my blood, Trent.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah, you know, everybody's got their different opinions on the different PlayStation games that they use. You know, whether it be PS3, PS4, PS5. You know, of course, PS3s are so outdated nowadays. It seems like, but people have their different kind of gaming consoles that they use, and whatever floats your boat. As long as you can play the game you want to play, do it.
Yeah, so it might be worth it for someone who plays a ton of games. So you can definitely go out there and check that out. Of course, you know, Trent, right now I am locked in on Elden Ring, as is most people who game. They're just obsessed with the game. But another game that I get obsessed with when it comes out is The Legend of Zelda. Through the years, and many different versions of that on Nintendo. I have basically owned Nintendo systems just for when Zelda comes out. I remember not the Switch, but the system before the Switch, the Nintendo Wii. I essentially bought that system for one game. Zelda Skyward Sword came out for Switch. I picked up the system, and they never released another Zelda game for it again. And I didn't really buy any games for it. So I essentially bought an entire gaming system for one game all the way back to the Wii. And I've gotten more play out of the Switch, but I bought the Switch because Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild came out on the Switch, and it was a lot of, it's hard to compare anything to the era of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, which are great Zelda games, but hearing all the great things about Breath of the Wild, I went out, got a Switch, and Breath of the Wild was absolutely incredible. All Zelda experiences are great games. It's kind of an Elden Ring type of game, but not quite. Zelda is Zelda, but it's one of those games similar to Elden Ring where you got to put time into it to explore this gigantic world and this fantasy type of world. You play the role of Link, where you're trying to rescue the Princess Zelda. So it's and the thing about Breath of the Wild is it gave you the biggest world you ever experienced in the Legend of Zelda. I mean, you can climb mountains, go into different parts of the world. It was just a huge game and a pretty cool experience. So essentially with the news here is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, we finally have an idea when the sequel is going to come out, and it was delayed because initially Zelda nerds like me, big time fans, were excited for a Breath of the Wild 2 release date in 2022. Now we know that it has been moved back and delayed to the spring of 2023. So if you're a big Zelda fan and you're pumped up about getting some Breath of the Wild 2 action, well, hopefully you get a lot of life out of that Elden Ring, because you're going to have to wait till spring of 2023, which is about a year away, Trent. So I
don't like to wait.
I have to wait longer. But the thing about it is the one thing you do appreciate as a fan of the Zelda franchise is that you always know it takes years for them to create this game and make it and come out with it. It takes forever. And basically, you're going to get an amazing product. They never really disappoint. Like I said, I think Skyward Sword, I think that was the one that came out for Wii. That came out, and you didn't get a new Zelda game until Switch. It was forever. So it takes them years and years to make them. They take their time, and they make sure, hey, you're a Zelda fan, we're not going to sell you short. We're going to give you a top of the line experience that, you're going to remember for years and years to come. And I definitely think that Breath of the Wild was one of the best Zelda games ever. And that's saying a lot. Why don't you say we talk a little bit of some sports, Trent? What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
Let's get some of that in there. Huh? Trent, take it away.
Well, we got a couple of big stories here, trying to pick the highlights. Number one being the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Bruce Arians. Of course, we're all familiar with him. Bruce led the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to their second Super Bowl win in franchise history back in 2020. It was during a COVID season, but it was during a full season, which the great one, Mr. Tom Brady, TB12, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, ended up leading the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the Super Bowl. Didn't quite get there last year just because of he kind of ran into some combination of things. It ran into a tough Rams team in the playoffs, and then of course Todd Bowles, who is now the new head coach, made a couple of questionable defensive calls when defensive play calling, and that ended up costing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the game against the Los Angeles Rams when Cooper Kupp was set up for that long touchdown pass, or set up the game-winning field goal with that long 40-yard bomb that Matt Stafford threw downfield and stuff like that. But anyway, you got to give it to the Los Angeles Rams. They went on to win the Super Bowl, so that loss wasn't as bitter as many would definitely think that it could have been if the Bengals would have beaten the Rams. But regardless, that's all behind us. Bruce Arians did announce last night, Wednesday night. So if you're listening to this, on late Thursday night or Friday, whenever, it was Wednesday this past week, March 30th, that head coach Bruce Arians announced that he is stepping away from football, from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, after being on an NFL sideline for nearly 50 years. Now, some people saw this as a surprise. Me, not so much. I mean, I didn't think it would necessarily happen this year, but I had a feeling that after this season, Coach Bruce Arians wasn't going to coach anymore. I did not think he would be coaching in 2023 because of the fact, you take a look at it, if you really look into the microscope of the operation, you look into the day-to-day operations of the team, Bruce Arians, doesn't he does a lot, but then again, because of his health, he's kind of had to take a little bit of time off. He can't really handle too many huge responsibilities as of late. I mean, he has shorter days than the players do, because of his health reasons. But he decided it's time to move from the sideline and time to go into the front office, where Jason Light is. So he's now a senior football consultant. I've never heard of any other NFL team having a senior football consultant. So this may be unique to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Have you heard of that, Rich?
What's that there, Trent?
The senior football consultant. Have you heard of that?
Senior football consultant. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard of that. Yeah. So
but I don't think any NFL team has got him except Tampa Bay.
Is that the only? I've heard of positions that sound, and they are usually a ceremonial role. Someone takes that role with the team. There have been a couple of Yankees who have had similar positions with the ball club, but yeah, it seems like it's the type of position that they give to someone who they want to stick around in the organization, but they don't quite have a position for them. And senior consultant. I remember, I believe at one point A-Rod was a senior type consultant with the Yankees. He didn't want to completely be out of the game, and he wanted to mend fences with the relationships. And he would show up at spring training to be with the players during spring training and be there as someone who can offer advice. Be a mentor. Obviously he's the type of guy who can tell you, don't do these things, it'll get you in trouble, right? I remember A-Rod had kind of a position like that. I think CeCe Sabathia with the Yankees.
Oh, yeah.
I believe at one point Allen Houston with the Knicks had, and usually it's a former player that gets a position like that just to stay involved with the organization. I think that's what it is. It's like, we like Arians, Super Bowl winning coach, doesn't want to coach anymore, has some health issues. And I'll take this moment right now to say that I think this proves that Bruce Arians is a class act, right? Because I think when Tom Brady retired, he didn't want to leave that mess with Todd Bowles. And definitely considering all of the diversity issues with the NFL and their coaching and hiring practices and things of that nature. So, to leave Todd Bowles in kind of a no-win situation after he's already failed as a head coach with the New York Jets, he didn't want to do something like that. But once Brady came back, he could have been some may say is selfish and say, well, let's give it a go again. I want to be a 2-time winning Super Bowl coach. I want to go at this again. But instead, he looked at it as an opportunity to basically say thank you to Todd Bowles, because I believe they coached together in Arizona as well.
Sure did.
They've worked for a long time together, and this was his chance to do something for Todd Bowles. Hey, you know what? I'm not leaving you in a mess with no quarterback, with a team that's falling apart, in a situation where everybody, it doesn't matter who the coach is going to be, they're not succeeding in this situation. I don't want to put you in that position. But now Tom Brady's coming back. You know what? Let me get out now and give Todd Bowles a chance to shine, because he's done a lot of great things for me as an assistant over the years. Let me give him a shot to succeed here in this league, because
he didn't have the players. Yes, you and I talked about this before the show, and of course, they had Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Fitzpatrick had the tendency to be good at times, but you look at the other quarterbacks he's had. He's had like Geno Smith, who hadn't turned out to be anything. Ryan Fitzpatrick kind of deteriorated. He would have stretches and seasons where he would play well for the first 4 or 5 games, or vice versa. He would heat up toward the end of the season, but more often than not, it was at the beginning of the season, and then he would just kind of go down the drain. With Tom Brady, yes, he does have a few games every now and then that he doesn't play well. Everybody's going to have that, but you don't have that drastic downfall with a quarterback. So he actually has a quarterback, and he actually has some big name guys on this team. He actually has some big name receivers and reliable running backs and stuff that have shown what they are capable of in years past. So you can't argue, if you're a Jets fan, that Todd Bowles is not in the same position that he was with the New York Jets. He's in a much better position, taking over for head coach Bruce Arians, because the team is in such good hands, as he has said.
Well, of course. I mean, look, of course he's never in that situation. He's taking over a team that won a Super Bowl and has the greatest quarterback of all time on it. So I don't think any other team in the entire NFL can offer that situation. So he's in a very unique situation. However, I would push back a little bit with the fact that when Bowles took over the Jets, there was talent on the team. They had some good defensive pieces. And Ryan Fitzpatrick came in that first year, had a career year, but they were never a big part of why. Look, everybody takes blame in this, but when you had Ryan Fitzpatrick that first year, and he has some weapons, and they almost make the playoffs. Look, they won 10 games that year, but they needed to win 11, and the final game of the year was against an awful, awful Buffalo Bills team, and a big reason why they lost that game wasn't just because Ryan Fitzpatrick had his worst game of the year, but Coach Todd Bowles had a terrible game as well. So, and we saw, as Jet fans, we saw him come up very small as a situational coach in big-time moments, watching the games over the years. And we watched the team deteriorate under him. The team was talented that first year. They didn't get better. They got worse. And Todd Bowles is a part of that. And part of the reason why the team got worse is because, quite honestly, maybe he gets better here, and he's had time to work with Arians again and see how a guy like Tom Brady does it. Todd Bowles was a terrible, maybe he was a terrible coach. And the main reason why he was a terrible head football coach, I'm not saying he's a bad defensive coordinator. He's always been okay as a defensive coordinator. But as a head coach, he knows nothing about offense. He doesn't involve himself in that. When the Jets had momentum after that first year, they didn't build that offense, make it better, build some. You would think after the success of the first year they could build. They got worse because Bowles was hands off when it comes to offense, and he put people in charge there that didn't get the job done. Maybe if he had a little bit more input and was more of a complete coach, the Jets could have evolved as a team off of that first season, because he was playing with other people's players, other things that were put in place, and all that stuff worked the first year. When it all came down to the Bowles regime the year after and the 3 years that followed that first year, that's all on him. And he didn't grow as a coach. And that's where in my opinion, in today's NFL, where it's so offensive centric, you need to have a head coach that can coach both the defense and the offense. Todd Bowles has no idea what's going on offense. Now, maybe here he has Tom Brady, and obviously
he's got Byron Leftwich too.
You got Leftwich. Yeah. So
Leftwich had an opportunity to take the job in Jacksonville, but he didn't want to work with Trent Baalke, the general manager, which I can totally understand. I've heard he's a real jerk, and he has no idea how to operate a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's why the Jaguars, because arguably Baalke is one of the main reasons the Jaguars are where they are today. So Byron Leftwich, the Bucs got lucky because you got the same, pretty much the same coaching staff that has been with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, since the Super Bowl winning team back in 2020.
And we know Brady loves Leftwich. He loves working with Leftwich, and I'm sure Leftwich will be calling the plays. And good for him, But there's going to come a time late in the game where Bowles is going to have to make a decision. He's very conservative. He doesn't go for it. He calls timeouts in the wrong moment. He gets kind of twitchy when it comes down to it. Late in these games, we saw it a million times with the Jets. He's not aggressive late in the games, but we'll see how it works out. Where obviously he has Tom Brady, he has Brian Leftwich, he has guys that he can work with here that can take control of the offensive side of the ball, and he doesn't have to worry about it, and he mainly focuses on defense. But I just think that is a formula that never works. You need a coach that can coach, a head coach that is going to coach both sides of the ball, understands what's going on, and has a feel of the game offensively, so you can make the right decisions, time management late in the games that Todd Bowles was terrible at as a Jets coach. So I'm gonna go out on a limb, Trent, and you're not gonna like this, but I think that now that Todd Bowles is I dislike Todd Bowles as a head coach so much. I don't think the Buccaneers are going to make the playoffs this year. I think he's terrible. But, I might be proven wrong here, and of course you got Tom Brady and Brian Leftwich. But I look at Todd Bowles as a loser as a head coach, and I don't think he is going to win, but I'm a Jet fan, Trent, so it'll pain me to see him have success as a head coach with the Buccaneers.
Yeah, man, I got to tell you, it's I think that's a stretch. Yeah, you're correct. I disagree with where you're going with this, but like I said, I go back to you got the greatest of all time, and he can influence anybody. Just look at Tom Brady and look at the influence he's had on people coming to Tampa Bay. You know what I'm saying? So, if there is a decision, and Tom Brady's influenced Bruce Arians' decisions at times. I mean, you're well aware of that. Tom will give his input saying, no, I don't think we should go here. I think we should, kind of do this and do that. And a lot of times, because Tom Brady's had some success, a lot of the coaches will kind of give him the green light, so to speak. And so we'll see what happens. But in terms of making the playoffs, I don't agree with that. I think they'll make it in somehow.
Well, what do you think about your division there, Trent? Who do you think? If you're a Buccaneers fan, you got a returning Tom Brady. You're a couple years removed from a Super Bowl. Who's your biggest competition in that division?
It's going to be interesting because Atlanta doesn't have Matt Ryan anymore. Matt Ryan is not in the NFC South.
They got Jake Mariota there in Atlanta now.
They did. They took Mariota. Mariota has a tendency to be good at times. Not lately, but he's had a tendency to play well. Carolina, of course, they still got Sam Darnold up there, I believe. And
they might be looking for someone in the draft. They're not sold on Darnold either.
Yeah, no. If I had to say, man, I think that the largest competition in the NFC South would probably be the Saints.
The Saints, yeah, I guess they re-signed Jameis Winston, right?
Yep.
You make a good point, though. Just looking at it, they're definitely going into the season, the class of the division. Maybe the division is not as strong as it has been in past years. How about that?
No, it's not. You got three kind of underwhelming quarterbacks and three quarterbacks that have the tendency to play poorly at times. So just be prepared.
Well, there you go. You can't say Brady saw that and decided I need to come back, because I think at the time Matt Ryan was still with the Atlanta when he came back, and Peyton was probably gone as head coach of the
He was already gone.
So I don't know. Yeah, you make a good point though. In past years, that division has been ultra competitive. But yeah, you lose the.
I would have been worried about us getting swept by the Saints if this was 2 or 3 years ago. I'd be worried about the Saints.
You're right. Yeah. That's I hadn't thought about that. The weekend seems to be considerably weaker than it hasn't been in past years, and maybe that's going to be an open door there for the Buccaneers to go ahead and easily make the playoffs. Anything else in sports there, Trent?
Just for this week, just to kind of going to keep it simple, that's kind of the really the only thing. The only thing I'll say is opening day less than a week away. Yes, I've been watching my fair share of spring training baseball, and I've enjoyed it. However, I'm ready for them to start playing for real. I've got that itch in April 8th. April 7th and 8th, actually. I think employers should allow for their employees to take a 4-day weekend next week for the opening day of baseball. April 7th and 8th. Those 2 days should be national holidays, in my opinion.
It should. I agree with you. That should be a national holiday, 100%. How about just a couple of words before we end sports, Trent, on the Final Four? Coach K and Duke, they make it all the way to the Final Four on his, as his legendary career reaches its end here. What a way to end it! An incredible matchup with North Carolina, and you got Kansas getting in there as the only number 1 seed. Just talk about the Final Four real quick.
Oh, yeah, the Final Four is great. St. Peter's, they ran into some tough competition, but you know what? The Cinderella run ended early, but it was a hell run. I mean, you look at it, a first time a 15th seed has made it to the Elite Eight, and I watched that game last week on Friday night when St. Peter's ended up beating, who was it they beat? Purdue. They ended up beating a number 1 seed, Purdue. Purdue was really up there and really playing well. And St. Peter's and so many other guys really ended up playing that. The head coach there should be very proud of himself. But Hubert Davis, taking over for Roy Williams in North Carolina, is kind of taking what Roy Williams did and kind of ran with it. They're back in the Final Four. Arguably, Kansas Villanova, that should be a good game. But I'm telling you what, Duke and North Carolina, that will be the game to watch. Chapter 3, of course, Mike Krzyzewski lost to North Carolina in their second chapter. So, hey, man, we'll see. I can't let the game's on, dude. I'm ready.
I mean, that's as good as it gets right there as a Final Four. As you know, I'm not the biggest college basketball fan, but I would just go out on a limb. And we don't know how good these games are going to be, but could you imagine if you get a couple of buzzer beaters here? But going into it, I would say, man, this is the most anticipated Final Four for me in years. I haven't been excited for a Fantastic Four like this in a long time.
Oh yeah, I'm ready. Final Four. Let's do it. It's Saturday night. Don't try to reach me because I'll be glued to my TV watching basketball.
It's time to sit down and unwind and listen to the Couch Report.
Yes, the Couch Report. How about that? Trent, what have you been up to?
As you mentioned last week, I am busier than a one-armed paper hanger. I will be until about May. May 10th is when my schedule will kind of slow down, just because yours truly, as I've mentioned, it's well documented that not only do I work full-time in radio, but I'm also a college student and getting ready to also graduate. Getting ready to graduate in May with my Associate of Arts degree. Yes, I will be getting my BA at some point, but it just feels good to get that first degree. I'll have a certificate. I'll have a paper. I'll have a piece of paper with my degree on it, with the degree of Associate of Arts degree in Arts and Sciences from South Florida State College. Really looking forward to that. So staying busy. I did find out this week, got to share some personal news, that I was nominated to be a potential student speaker for the 2022 spring commencement ceremony. I did find out that my speech was selected to be performed in front of the selection committee. So on April 8th, Friday, April 8th, I'll be going before the selection committee performing my speech, and I'll find out whether I have the honor of speaking at the graduation on April 14th. So that's a bit of great news. So I'm very happy about that.
Wow, congratulations. That's awesome.
I appreciate that. That's it's very sophisticated for this particular program, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't even know what you just said, but I'm just kind of like acknowledging it and saying congratulations.
Typical, but it's all right. I appreciate it, but no, that's what I've been happening. Been playing a lot of shows. We actually have our band is running into a little bit of a stretch here because we actually have a show. If you're listening on Friday night, we're playing on Saturday, so we're playing tomorrow Saturday night, and then we have a Sunday night show for the first time, and I can't tell you how long. I can't remember playing a Sunday show with this particular band. It's been a while, but we're playing at a retirement community Sunday night from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. So that's going to be a good time. That's going to be a late night Sunday night, trying to get up early Monday morning, but hey, we'll do it. And then we have a Tuesday afternoon show, April the 5th. We're playing a show up in at a retirement community from 1 to 4, and then I have another one of my baseball games after that. So that same night. So I'm not going to be spending much time on the couch. But you know what? I would rather be busy than not doing anything.
That's the off the couch report, Trent. You got the.
I know
you have a lot of off the couch report stuff to talk about.
You're right. Absolutely. At least for now. Now, I will be on the couch come May 11th. I'll be spending a lot of time on the couch. Hopefully catching up on sleep and binge watching a lot of programs.
Have you watched anything as of late or no time to watch anything?
Not really kind of get into to deep stuff. Like I said, I was watching Upload. I'm still watching that. I love the like I said, I talked about it last week. I still like the content. It seems like the character development in this show is kind of getting more and more. I actually like it, and I like the fact that they're I think they're half-hour shows, right? That's what I've counted. I lose track of time when I watch shows.
Hour, 25 minutes.
Yeah, they're about 25 minutes to a half hour, so I can watch a couple of episodes, then kind of do other things and come back and watch another episode. So I could watch, if I wanted to, I could watch 3 episodes per night, and and everything. So I'm still enjoying that. Just love the auditory descriptions. I love the fact that I keep thinking about uploading a conscience. It seems like we're doing that all the time with our phones. It seems like we're uploading our thoughts. Whenever we whenever we put reminders in our phones, it seems like we're constantly uploading those, because if you think about it, we can actually go to the cloud and look at the reminders that we put in our phone, and they're there. They're there online if you needed to. So it seems like even though we are alive, it seems like we are uploading our thoughts and our if you want to say conscience, we are already doing that to this day.
All right. So I'll and that's a great point. It's true. I mean, it's basically human consciousness really existing in another realm, in this realm that we've created of the internet, this virtual world. And it's a collection of human consciousness that we always used to talk about. Well, can you imagine if the radio waves, all of these radio signals that are produced by radio and television broadcasts and all of that, they're going out into space, traveling out into intergalactic space. What would happen if aliens got a hold of that and saw how we thought and got a chance to watch an episode of Family Feud or something? What would they be thinking out there? But it's true. A long time ago, that was where human consciousness existed. And now it exists on the internet. So you're checking out Upload, Trent. Let me ask you this. Here's an interesting question. If you had a chance and you were at the end, would you upload?
Yeah, I think I would. I mean, I think it'd be cool, just to kind of upload my conscience, so people, I would leave around would kind of, see me, kind of see my thoughts, and yeah, I think that'd be pretty neat.
I would definitely upload. There's no doubt about it. Although the price tier, it seems pretty expensive to upload, and to have a good time, you better have a good bank account. But that's kind of
sure, absolutely. It's gonna. I didn't say it was. I didn't say it was cheap.
Yeah, it's definitely not cheap. Not if you want to experience all that uploading has to offer in the future. All right, so let's take a look. Do you have anything else on your couch report here, Trent?
No, that pretty much does it for me for this week.
All right, cool. I don't know. Did you? I don't think you saw the grandmother yet, right? His girlfriend's grandmother is on the show, and she actually shows up, and she decides that her avatar in the upload world is black and white. I don't know if you had a chance.
Yeah, I did not see that part yet. No.
Yeah. You get a lot of her in the second season, but all right. So I'm gonna move on here. Get my couch report started with the huge Disney Plus release of Moon Knight. Moon Knight is the latest Marvel installment on Disney Plus, following Hawkeye, which was also a 6-episode series. We've had a bunch of series now: Falcon, Winter Soldier, WandaVision, Loki, and now the latest is Moon Knight. Moon Knight's an interesting project. I can't remember any other version of Moon Knight ever being made into film or TV. One of those Marvel Knights type of characters. I would say really in the darker realm of storytelling, what Marvel would call the Dark Knights, which is kind of like the Punisher, Daredevil, Iron Fist, Luke Cage type of world, where you get darker, grittier type of storytelling, very violent. And one of the things I thought about coming into this series was, will it reach the level of the Netflix shows? Netflix had their own Daredevil series, and Luke Cage. They took on kind of the darker Jessica Jones Marvel storytelling. And all right, you're going to take one of these characters. By the way, Netflix has lost control of all those properties, and they're all available now on Disney Plus. So one of the questions I had going into it, well, will it reach the level of just kind of a darker storytelling, a violent storytelling that the Netflix shows did with Daredevil and all of those shows? Well, that's the first question. Is Moon Knight going to be like that, or is it going to be very Disney-fied because it premieres on Disney Plus? It was going to be interesting to see where they went with it. I got a couple of reviews here. Rick Marshall from Digital Trends says Moon Knight is the scariest MCU project to date and the closest the franchise has come to outright horror. David James from We Got This Covered said Moon Knight delivers on its promise of a very different Marvel superhero. Let's see. Nick Shager, The Daily Beast. This costumed hero murders frequently and remorselessly. And while his initial outing isn't an outright killer, it remains additional evidence of Marvel's peerless capacity for rehashing formulas in a novel, charismatic, and entertaining fashion. So here's my take. It found a way to be Marvel, which means no, it did not reach the level of violent, dark storytelling of the Netflix shows like Daredevil and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. Are you familiar with the Daredevil character, Trent?
Oh, yeah. Yep, I am.
So Daredevil, Matt Murdock, one of my favorite comic books growing up. When I grew up, my favorite books were Spider-Man, Batman, Daredevil, The Punisher, stuff like that. And Daredevil is Matt Murdock. He's a lawyer in Hell's Kitchen, New York. He's blind, but an accident when he's young enhances all of his other senses. So he has super hearing, super smelling. You know, what would they call that? What's not smelling? Anyway, all of his other senses, other than sight, are enhanced, which enables him to basically see, not seeing like everybody else does, but seeing better. Gives him what he calls a radar vision. And the Netflix series is fantastic. It's hot fire, and it's extremely violent, and it tells the Matt Murdock story basically better than anything else does. So I hold that show to a really high standard. And Moon Knight doesn't. I only saw one episode, and it doesn't really approach that necessarily, that greatness. It was a fun show. If you don't know Moon Knight, he's a character that is kind of like, on the surface, looks like a Batman, depending on what version. There have been so many different types of stories with Moon Knight over the years. The one I remember was where, hey, Mark Spector has money. He has a butler like Batman does. He has a plane. It's not shaped like a bat, but it's shaped like the moon, and he's out there fighting crime at nighttime, the whole thing. And he looks badass. He's one of the best looking heroes ever. later writers like Jeff Lemire, and it's always been part of the story, but I feel like really in the last 20 years, focus on this idea that Mark Spector, or whoever Moon Knight is, if he's Stephen Grant or any of these different characters, suffers from multiple personality disorder, multiple personality schizophrenia, where he doesn't know who's in control of his body at any time. And somehow he gets powers from an ancient god in Egypt. So it's a pretty convoluted, weird story to begin with. And the show, the first episode, really focuses on that struggle between personalities. You're following him around as Stephen Grant, a mild-mannered gift shop employee. And throughout the show, he's blacking out and not really realizing where the time is going. The time is going where Mark Spector becomes Moon Knight and fights crime, and he's kicking ass and killing people and stuff. And but Stephen Grant has no idea this is going on. To be honest with you, in the first episode, it's cool, but after a while, it kind of gets annoying, kind of jumping back and forth and what's going on, and it's very confusing and hard to follow. So I found that stuff to be not so great. I mean, it was okay, but it's a bizarre story, and they did the best they can with it. It was a lot of action, and it seemed more like they did a great job of being Disney Marvel. Yes, there were horrific aspects to it. At the end, there are these ancient Egyptian dogs that are trying to eat them, and that's definitely horrific looking. But at the same time, I feel like it's all pretty fun and Disney. It feels like Disney Marvel. It doesn't feel like the Marvel Knights Netflix stuff. So the first answer to my first question was, well, yeah, it still feels like Disney Marvel. It's a little darker, but it did leave me with a feel. This was the first time I felt cheated with the 40-minute episode, and I do like that a lot. Most of the Marvel shows have been this way. They're about 35, 40 minutes. But this episode was screaming to be about an hour because we needed more from it, because the whole episode was him blacking out and not knowing what happened when he blacked out. So, and then at the end, he's just Moon Knight. It's like Mark Spector, the other identity takes control, and you get to see one scene of him looking, and believe me, Trent, when I tell you, Moon Knight's one of the coolest looking characters that was ever designed by Marvel or any company out there. So yeah, as far as looks, it looked great. But I got to admit, after the first episode, it did feel a little Disney-fied. I read you these reviews and people saying, well, it's the first horror superhero show done by Disney, this and that. I wasn't horrified by it. I felt like it was done a little more fun and in more of the Disney Marvel style. I'm not saying it was bad. I got to see more of it to really get a feel for that. But anyway, mixed emotions from me after the first episode of Moon Knight. I'll keep you informed as the series progresses, if it gets any better or worse, in my opinion. The other thing I checked out this week, Trent, was this show called From. It's on Epic, and the first 3 episodes are free on Amazon TV. Very interesting concept from the producers of this old show called Lost. As a matter of fact, one of the characters from Lost, he's one of the main characters in From, and it's basically these people caught in this bizarre loop where they can't escape this place. They got on a road, and they ended up in this place where the road just keeps circling back to the same place. So they can't leave this place. And in this place, at nighttime, these weird vampire demon creatures come out to kill you. So and basically they're like vampires in the sense that you have to invite them into the house for them to get in. As long as you have this talisman that protects the house. So I thought it was really cool and bizarre. I liked it more than I thought I was gonna like it. If Lost, which was produced by J.J. Abrams, is any indication, it's going to go somewhere where I hate, and it's not going to make any sense, and I'm going to be disappointed with the ending because that's what Lost did. However, I have hope for this. I think it's clearly, and it's done by MGM, which owns all of the classic monster movie franchises, Dracula, Wolfman, The Invisible Man, Frankenstein, all that stuff, MGM, the Universal Monsters, like MGM Studios in Disney World. So it's done by them, which leads me to believe, just from the creature itself, it's a pretty cool creature. It's reminiscent of the Vincent Price Last Man on Earth movie. I believe that was the late 60s, based on a book as well, where these very similar, same type of vampire creatures, but not quite vampires, are plaguing Vincent Price, and all he does is he knows at nighttime, I better be in the house and stay in the house because they can't get in here. And in that movie, he believes he's the last man on Earth. Of course, he's not, and it's been a story that's been repeated over the years. You had Omega Man in the 70s based off of the same book. You even had, coincidentally, Will Smith's I Am Legend, which was based off of the same book about a decade ago. My favorite always was the Vincent Price movie, Last Man on Earth. And I think I'll be proven correct, but I think From is based on the same thing. We'll see what happens, but surprisingly great in my opinion. I'm really digging From through the first 3 episodes. And again, this is an epic show, and the first 3 episodes are free on if you have Amazon. They're free on Amazon. And finally, Trent, I finally got my gigantic telescope. Came in, my big 12-inch Dobsonian telescope. Very exciting. And the cool thing about getting the telescope, and I'm really into astronomy and hunting deep sky objects, and I had quite a weekend. But what really worked out for me was, and you read it all the time, people say, man, I get a new telescope, and of course all the clouds come, and I can't see anything, and it's raining all week. I got to wait to use my new telescope. Well, Trent, I had 3 days of pristine, clear skies when I got my telescope. So very pumped up about it. And the scope itself did not disappoint with that giant mirror to view the Great Orion Nebula in the constellation Orion, which is a diffuse nebula, basically a place where stars are born. It's really incredible to look at through this telescope, because you literally can see the gaseous clouds dissipating, breaking apart. With my old telescope, which was a 3.5-inch diameter telescope aperture, you could see, it looked cool, but you didn't quite have the clarity of the trapezium stars in the middle of the nebula, and just the detail you can see in the clouds is stunning and amazing. So that was cool. And the another cool thing was just I had for months kind of struggled trying to find the Whirlpool galaxy M51, which are 2 galaxies colliding in a similar way to the way our Milky Way will collide with the Andromeda galaxy in the future. But the Whirlpool galaxy, a couple of galaxies colliding in the Ursa Major constellation. Use some simple star hopping skills to locate the Whirlpool galaxy. Well, I had failed for a couple of months with my binoculars and my old telescope. Well, with the use of this new equipment and my finder scope and my Telrad and my giant telescope, I finally found the Whirlpool galaxy, and it was stunning, man. It was just really cool. You get these look, it's not Hubble telescope images, but you really do see these 2 huge gaseous clouds with a illuminated center, which is the supermassive black hole there at the center that these spiral galaxies revolve around. You see them kind of right next to each other. And the best part about it, I don't go with too much magnification. I find the sweet spot with something like that. It's a 20 millimeter eyepiece or 15 millimeter. I really like the 20 because you want to see the stars around the galaxies to really show how immense they are and what they look like with those stars in the background. So it just, I don't know, it was so satisfying to finally find M51 over the weekend, and I was just blown away by it. Just a couple quick things on that. M51, 31 million light years away from Earth. So the light that my telescope was gathering and I was seeing with my eyes took 31 million years to get to Earth. So it's basically looking back in time. That's one of the cool things about it. The great thing is, one of the great things anyway, M51, the Whirlpool Galaxy, first discovered the spiral arms of the galaxy, which the Whirlpool Galaxy was the first to be designated as a spiral object. We eventually learned our own Milky Way is a spiral galaxy, so is Andromeda. But the Whirlpool Galaxy, back in 1845, a dude in Ireland, I talk about my 12-inch aperture. A dude in Ireland used a 70-inch aperture telescope to, for the first time in human history, see the spiral arms of the galaxy. So to get that kind of detail, just to give you an idea, you need a gigantic telescope. But what I saw was brilliant. It was great. Every time I see something new deep in the heavens, it's kind of a life-changing experience, and I'm looking forward to years of enjoying this telescope, Trent.
Okay. All right. Sounds
that
good.
was too much. I know. I'm sorry. But and by the way, I will say this as we get near the end here. I do have a vlog going on YouTube, Super Radio Brothers Highlights. We got the unboxing of the telescope up there. And also you get the second part of the video where I am putting together the Dobsonian base. So if you're picking up a Dobsonian telescope, you can go ahead and watch our instructional video, and more astronomy Super Radio Brother vlogs to come, Trent, on Super Radio Brother Highlights on YouTube.
All right, we'll check them out. Sounds like a lot of YouTube watching, and sounds like a fun thing to do.
It's a fun thing to do, and I love it. And hey, what can I tell you? Really happy and excited about the whole thing. Anything else from you here tonight, Trent?
No, that'll about do it for me. You know, it's another great show. We got another one down, and look forward to next week.
The Super Radio Brothers, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the weekend, enjoy the Final Four, and enjoy Morpheus. Be a lot about that next week on the Super Radio Brothers. In the words of time, Trent, in the words of Bob Dylan, time is an ocean, but it ends at the shore. The Super Radio Brothers have reached the shore. See ya!
Bye.